Hello, welcome to Chartbusters. I'm Nigel D'Souza and joining me is Ekta Batra. Well, we're in the thick of earnings season, so let's get straight to our first management that's standing by. Mphasis, they came out with their numbers midnight. They saw a weak set of numbers, actually. The revenue declined for the second straight quarter. However, deal wins were healthy at around $309 million. To discuss the company's fourth quarter performance in detail, as well as what's the way ahead, we're joined by Mr. Nitin Rakesh, who is the Managing Director and CEO of the company. And joining him as well is Mr. Manish Dugar, who is the Chief Financial Officer of the company. Hi, Nitin. Hi, Manish. Thanks so much for joining in. Well, let's focus on a couple of numbers then. Second consecutive quarter of a bit of a revenue decline. When do you see this pressure on the BFSI segment easing? Point number one. And point number two is supply side issues are getting sorted out, but yet you have lowered the upper end of your margin guidance. Why is that?
Thanks, Nigel, for having us. Let me take the first one, and I'll have Manish talk about the margin guidance and the band. If you look at the last two quarters, bulk of the decline really came from the mortgage segment that constitutes about, at this point, about 6.4% of revenues. Last quarter, it was over 8%. I think what's really going on there is kind of a freeze and a perfect storm in the mortgage segment in the US. Given the interest rate environment and the fact that the 30-year mortgage is at 6.5%, kind of a 40-year high. I think we are at a point where bulk of the decline is behind us. We think Q1 is the stabilization quarter. We are kind of near the bottom of that decline. So incrementally, we do believe that we will see stabilization in the mortgage business, and correspondingly, that headwind will kind of at least cease to exist. Either in the current quarter or Q2 onwards. So that definitely gives us some visibility to the overall direct growth actually returning back in the business on a sequential basis. And I think the other item that we can talk about is the fact that even in the DXC business, we have visibility to a stable outlook for the medium term. So I think those two were the big headwinds that seems to be behind us for the most part. The quantum of decline we saw in the last two quarters isn't something we expect to repeat. And as you mentioned, the deal-making activity continues to be robust. Pipeline is up 35-36% year over year, 9% sequentially. We had a large deal over 150 million with a new customer in BFS in Q4. We had a total of 2 large deals. So I think the deal activity is actually fairly robust, and as is the ability to continue to generate new deals. Manish, you can talk a little bit about the margin guidance band.
Okay, sure. Manish, go ahead.
Yeah, last year we had given a guidance range of 15.25 to 17. When the year began, we were not sure about how uncertain the macro will be. And as we all know, it kind of, had one negative impact after the other, the Ukraine-Russia crisis, recession, inflation, and then followed by the banking issue. As we get into this year, while we have reduced the guidance range from the upper range from 17 to 16.25, we feel a lot more confident about being able to expand from the 15.3% that we have been at for the last 4 quarters. So I think the real thing to be thought about is, 15.3 going up and not so much about 17 to 16.25, because that was a guidance, while this is where we believe we will be able to execute. We feel confident given the operational efficiency we saw kind of got eaten away by revenue decline. So as the revenue comes back and as we continue to focus on operating efficiency, we should certainly be able to deliver expansion in the margins in the coming quarters.
Okay. Nitin, just wanted to come back to you with regards to BFSI. While you have one deals within that segment, 2 deals, if I'm not mistaken, that's what you just said. What is FY24 looking like when it comes to BFSI in terms of deal wins as well as an overall outlook in terms of growth? The reason I say this is because Coforge was a bit cautious on their banking revenue just yesterday as well. So putting things together, what can you guide for when it comes to BFSI going into FY24, deal wins as well as growth?
I think for us, the bigger headwind really came from the mortgage side. That seems to be behind us for the most part. As we focus on FY24, I think the lead indicator for us always is pipeline. Pipeline for BFSI is actually up double digits YOY. While conversion timelines have extended and conversion from deal win to revenue is also extended, The outlook outside of mortgage continues to be, we have visibility into growth for the full year. But of course, we'll have to kind of continue to make sure that the environment doesn't get, over extended in terms of, the headwinds we've seen. As we stand today, while there are some headwinds.
On this. Just a quick follow-up. We're a little tight on time today. But I also wanted to ask you, any kind of headwinds such as deal cancellations, delay in ramp-ups, which is already taking place across sectors?
Yeah, deal cancellations, not so much. I think given that a lot of these deals are in strategic tech areas, we haven't really seen a lot of, cancellation activity. Of course, there has been extension of deal timelines, both from a conversion standpoint and from a consumption standpoint. But that's kind of really, something that we called out last quarter as well. No significant deterioration there.
All right, Nitin, Manish, since Ekta mentioned we're a little short on time, but you all have hired a new M&A head, I believe. Are you all looking to...
That was done at the end of last year, yes.
Right. Is there something we should look forward to? When markets get a little bit dull, a little bit jittery, maybe some inorganic growth could pick up. Are you looking at any acquisitions?
Idea is absolutely to be a little bit more, curious, as they say. You should definitely look for potentially something that we can do in FY24. We are very actively working on unearthing capability as well as expansion-based acquisition deals.
Okay, all right, Rakesh as well as Manish, we have to wrap up on that note. It's been a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll get you on board again to have a longer discussion. Thank you very much for joining in and discussing your quarterly earnings. We need to take a break now, but we'll be back with more management. Stay tuned.